Hello, it's Dave. It's the Crypto Raptor here. I've just been watching Ozzy the BS Filter. Love his show, and it's this video: car and home loans, Bitcoin brings down banks, why lending platforms will make a huge comeback. And I'm glad to see this because it's a good discussion. And basically, I love lending platforms. The idea of making 1% a day off of a lending platform really appeals to me. This is why I started looking at them, and I support that idea wholeheartedly, but it's got to be genuine. It's looking like most of the ones out there are not even lending platforms. They've got a great idea and they've sold that idea really well, but basically it just seems like people are just scamming people for Bitcoin right now. I've lost some in BitConnect, and I've got a couple of other dibs in a couple of other ICOs, and I'm not even sure whether they're going to come good, which is a bit disappointing. But you do your own business in this world, and if it goes well, you take the plaudits. If it goes bad, you have to take the criticism, I suppose. But back to this, I was writing a message to Ozzy, and I thought, sod it, I'll do a video and I'll address what I was writing. I'll read it out. So I've put, Ozzy, I agree with lots of what you say. Most of it, in fact. The one point I wish to make is about the way money and debt slavery has come into existence. You know as well as I, how the corrupt banker class operated in order to gain a monopoly over the currencies. Give me the power to create money, and I care not who makes the laws. That's paraphrased, and you probably know who said it, but you will have heard of it. You see, we now live in a system whereby our signatures creates the money. It has been so for a very long time. This fiat currency is based on faith. There's no gold behind it as there once was. It's just the fact that the people agree and are willing to use it as the reason why it's lasted so long. It's the way they've forced us into using it that doesn't really stand with any credit. It wasn't people didn't make this decision knowingly. It was forced upon them. You're using this, and that's what money is. And if you try and create, for a long time, if you'd tried to create another currency to rival their currency, they'd have put you out of business. But you can now create your own currency, as so many people are doing. It's not against the law. Those laws have been changed, so we have the rights to do it, and a lot of people are doing it. And put, the devices mechanisms of banking world have been used for the good of the few over the needs of the many. The biggest device is compound interest, claiming to be, say, 5% APR, but once the maths is worked out, it's more like 260% over the term of a mortgage. And this is the figures in the UK. If you had a £100,000 mortgage, over 25 years you'd pay back close on 262,000. That was the maths from about 5 years ago, let's put it that way. It's changed a bit because the base rate's dropped, but technically if the base rate went back up, that's what you'd be looking at. It's roughly 260% of what you've borrowed. So for one, the banks create that credit off of our signatures and then start to harvesting our sweat equity for 25 years on something that took them moments to create at little cost to themselves. This is wrong, in my opinion, and we can run an economy better and fairer than they do. We do not need compound interest unless we reversed it. And when I say reversed it, I'd like to see a situation where we use compound interest in our best interests, because we are the ones loaning to the bank. When we sign on that dotted line, we're creating a negotiable instrument or a promissory note. So when we loan that promissory note to banks, because all banks can do, all they've got a license to do is trade in securities. They haven't even got a license to loan money. And if you want to check that out as true, look up Professor Richard Werner. He's an economics professor who's done the first study on banking, the empirical study with evidence on banking in 5,000 years. And his research will show you that they only have a license for trading in securities. They've got no license to loan money. So the whole concept of a mortgage, from when we go there and sign on a dotted line and we think we're taking X amount of dollars or pounds off of them in return to get the property, yeah? That's not what's happening. There's an exchange going on. They're taking your promissory note and they are crediting you with the funds to get from off the back of the promissory note. So you've given them, say, £100,000 note, they're giving you the credit so you can use it, because you can't walk up to somebody in the street and give them a £100,000 promissory note. They're not going to know what to do with it. So you give it to the bank. They hold it for you, and then the way that they've twisted it is that they start asking us for money to pay back. This is not supposed to be how it works, but they were so corrupt 100 years ago. They forced everybody into it, and it stayed the same. And the embarrassment of admitting this to society and the bankers and the governments, to allowing this fraud to continue for so long, is what's keeping it under wraps so far. They are highly embarrassed by this revelation of how the banks loan money. And the fact is, it's us. When we sign on the dotted line, sovereign money. It's our own signature that creates it, and our rights as a sovereign. Now, I know over there in the US, sovereign citizens have got the word sovereign a bad name. Ignore that. We are sovereigns by right in this country and in yours and in the rest of the Commonwealth. The problem is that these rights have been hidden away, and what the elite bankers have done is hijacked them, or lowjacked them is probably a better way of saying it. They've lowjacked our right to create sovereign money for ourselves. What we should be able to do is think, right, we need to forward our life for the better. I need a house that's going to support my family and kids. I'm going to buy that house. Sign on the dotted line. They give you the credit. You go and get the thing. Then when they're trading the note, they trade it behind the scenes, called the securitization process. They securitize the note and trade it. Basically, we should be getting payoff from what they're making. They're making thousands, if not millions, behind the scenes with your note. Fractionally reserve it 9 times. They could take a note worth 100,000 and turn it into $1 million by fractionally reserving it 9 times, £100,000 each. You got the first original, then 9 more times, 1 million off of a £100,000 note. So they should really be paying us interest on that money. It might sound like whack to you, but seriously, a professor has worked this out. And it takes a professor to look at it and go, hang on a minute, we've been duped. And he'll tell you that they were corrupt back then. That's the only way they got it through. Anyway, so unless we reversed compound interest in our favour, we shouldn't be using it. Currency does not have to be ran on a model of scarcity. In fact, I believe it's that scarcity is accountable for more deaths in the world worldwide than all the wars put together. And not because things are scarce, but because some people want you to think they are scarce just so they can make a higher profit margin. These people have unscrupulous criminal minds. A friend and I are creating a new economy with a crypto coin. We already have it on a blockchain. We have the wallets and we have the window for Windows and Linux. It is work in progress. It's very early days, but for few people are chipping in with artwork, web design, etc. It is happening. What I wish to achieve would be a system that ends poverty, not prolongs it, and solidifies debt rather than solidifying debt as the normal way of life. Debt should be abolished. The need to work 25 years of your life for a home needs to be abolished. For people to be made to feel like low-class people because they haven't got the means to enjoy the fruits and luxuries of this world needs to be abolished. I could go on. There's a lot that needs abolishing from this system because the people that put it in place are self-servers. They only care about them and their globalist agenda. All any new currency needs to have behind it to work is faith, the willingness of the community to use it and accept it. That is how fiat currency operates. We need not change that. We can take the good bits from the system we are in and disregard the bits that impoverish people. We can adapt, evolve and overcome all the problems that this system creates by wielding a debt slavery. There needs to be a new concept on what wealth is, and a new mindset on money and how it is distributed. In our economy, we would end poverty by supplying a living wage in crypto weekly, and that would be enough to sustain an adequate lifestyle. If people want more, then they work for it and get paid, as we do today. Jobs would still get done, people's lives would be more vocational, and I'm sure poverty would come to a dramatic decrease and lives would be saved. And that's how I feel about it. I think there's a big problem because people have got it in their heads that you need debt, that people have got to be owing before jobs will get done. This is not true. I know a dozen people in the village where I live that are past retirement age that can't stop working. My old man's one of them. He has to be doing something. You don't just want to sit there and get stiff and grow old and die. He's quite creative. He wants to go out and do things, whether it's a sport or a hobby. That's the other side of life that people need to embrace when they get of a certain age, is sports and hobbies, because a lot of people will work most of their life, come to losing their job at the age of 65 or 70, sit there for 3 years doing nothing, they deteriorate, and at that age they catch an illness and it kills them off. Where if they'd have stayed active and stayed moving, and not allowed the body to seize up by being, if you like, slothful in their old age, they would live for longer and healthier and more fruitful and enjoyable lives. And if one man has a more enjoyable life, we're all better off for it. Let's face it, that's the way the world works. It should be a positive thing. So anyway, I just wanted to put that out there to you to see if you're going to come back to me. I love your show. Keep doing what you're doing. You get me thinking every time I watch you, and that's what it's all about. And I hope I'm going to start a conversation and see where it goes. So peace, love and light, enjoy, and I'll be signing that off there.